Hi friends, so you're probably wondering where I'm standing right now because I am not standing in my kitchen, obviously. So I'm actually in Florida right now. If you don't know, I'm from central Pennsylvania and my parents just moved into this house, and as you can see behind me, it is a bit dated. So I'm going to have some fun while I'm here visiting for a few weeks, really making over this kitchen on a budget, and we're gonna do some DIY projects, make it very simple in case maybe your kitchen needs a little facelift as well. I'm gonna give you a lot of ideas that can make a huge impact and completely change the look of a space like this without spending a whole lot. I'm gonna get in some paint clothes and flip the camera around and show you all this kitchen layout. I really love the layout of this kitchen. It's very spacious and open. Nothing is too much of a tight squeeze. The walkway over here is rather large. It's just very nice, and especially from somebody that likes to cook, it just is a good space to be able to cook in. So one thing that we want to do is to deal with this area up here above the stove. It just makes it look very dated. So I have some ideas of what we can do with that. This space over here, I believe, was a desk at one point of some kind. My mom has a few ideas of what we could do with that, either a coffee bar or maybe make it into like a baking station of some kind. So we'll be working with that. One benefit that we have with this kitchen that I did not know in coming down here to work on this project is someone in the recent years actually painted the inside of all of these cabinets. So they have fresh paint inside, so I am not going to be doing anything to the inside. We're just going to be working on the outside, so that was a big relief that that part of the project is not going to take as much time. The other thing that is a big relief is that the hinges are an interior hinge. So as you can see with the cabinets, you don't see a hinge sticking out on the outside, which means we can very easily leave these on their hinges to paint them, which again saves so much time, and I don't have to take all of the doors off of the hinges. I did that in my kitchen, and it just is an extra project. Plus you need the space to set up all the doors on sawhorses and whatnot. So this is gonna have a lot of simple components, and I am so excited to get started. A question I get every single time I am painting something that is not real wood, like these cabinets are not real wood, just like whenever I made over the RV I was living in for a while, a lot of people want to know what primer and what paint. So this is what I'm using this time around. I have done other primers as well. So this is from Valspar. It is a stain blocking bonding primer and sealer. It is a high bind primer. Essentially, when you put this stuff on, it's a little bit like glue in the sense that it's going to stick to whatever you get this on. So as I'm working, if I get any on the counter, I'm going to want to wipe it up immediately. It is just a very high bind primer. So you can find this at Lowe's. I will try to leave a link below for it as well. And then I'm going to just be using the Valspar 2000 Interior Plus Primer because we're really covering up a lot, especially even on the walls in here. And this is just hide white. We're doing white on the walls and white on the cabinets as well. So I decided to go with something that was easily accessible if we need more or if my mom needs to touch up paint in the future. The first thing that I did was take off all of the old hardware. It just was very beat up. A lot of it was discolored and scratched up. Plus, I was able to find a really great pack of knobs since this whole kitchen actually had knobs and no handles. So I could just get one large mega pack on Amazon, and I think it was around $20, which is such a great price whenever it comes to this many knobs. Somewhere between $20 and $30, and I think that there was around 25 knobs in this kitchen. So a really budget friendly way to get knobs is get them on Amazon. They definitely beat out all of the other prices when it comes to Lowe's and Hobby Lobby and Walmart and places like that. Plus you can order them in the pack size that you actually need, and you're not being wasteful or having to order extra because there's a lot of different variety size packs. So here I'm popping off all of this decorative, I don't even know what to call this. It looks like miniature railing, but it just comes right off. I just took a miniature hammer and pried it all up, and it was just tacked down with really small trim nails. So I was able to just pull it all up. And after I removed as much of the little decorative pieces that we wanted to take out of there, I went around with a rag and some dish soap, specifically dish soap or anything that's going to cut grease. I also used a little scrubby on it. You just want to make sure that there's no grease on the cabinets, because wherever there's grease, the paint is not going to adhere and you're going to have a lot of problems. Now, I did not sand these cabinets as far as the majority of them. I did take a sanding block around where the most wear and tear will happen, basically around where the handles are, and just kind of scuffed it up. Because this is not real wood, it's not like you're going to be able to sand down to the wood. You're basically scratching up the coating that's over top of this fake wood. And then I went ahead and started to apply this primer. Now, I cannot say enough good things about this primer. I have used primer that's actually much more expensive than this from Sherwin-Williams, and this stuff beats it out like 10 out of 10. I cannot recommend this enough. My dad has been a contractor since I was born, and even he was thoroughly impressed with this stuff. It creates such a high bind, like it says right on the label, but also you can even see it in this video. Look how white these cabinets are getting with just one coat of this primer. Like, it's unreal. A lot of other primers, you would have to do at least 2 coats of primer just to get this pigmentation. And I just really can't say enough good things. I'm going to be using this from now on. Anytime I have something that needs to be primed that is dark or that has a more smooth surface, it does say right on the bucket that it can be applied to things like concrete walls and metal and things like that, but you don't have that really terrible smell like whenever you're using spray paint or something like that. It doesn't have a high odor, which I also appreciate. So it's basically the best of all worlds when it comes to primers and paints. And it's also a super great price compared to somewhere like Sherwin-Williams. So as you can see, their little range hood here was just looking a little bit rough. And my dad was looking at it and he made the suggestion to use this primer on it because it is meant for metal as well as wood and other things like I just said. So we decided to go ahead and to paint this along with the cabinets. And you guys, it worked out perfectly. One thing that I did do, and I would highly recommend this, is I did allow a day or two for this primer to really cure and dry and make sure that it was just very stuck to this metal before I put on any coats of paint on top of it. So I would recommend that. That's another thing that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to painting. Giving your paint coats time to dry and cure is very important. So sometimes you can be adding too many layers too quickly, and that's why it kind of ends up getting scratched up or gummy, if that makes sense. So once I had the primer on, I went around and I used some paintable caulk because these cabinets are old, and once I had created the whiteness, you could see all the little cracks and things that needed to be filled. Next, I wanted to focus on that area above the stove that just was making the kitchen look a little extra dated. So I went over to the Gator Boys Camp where my dad works, and we use the shop there to cut a piece of what we call luan. It's just a very, very thin type of plywood that you can use in spaces like this, especially when you don't want something thick or really heavy. You just want to be able to tack up something small. This works out perfectly. We also cut a couple pieces of I think it was like a 1x, or my dad ripped it down to like a 1x2, 2x1. I don't know if that even makes sense, but it's more of a small block of wood to help stick the luan to, which you're going to see in this next clip, that I'm just using a simple stapler to put all of this up. But I jokingly told my dad when he was cutting these pieces that I probably could have super glued this together, and you actually could. I've used super glue for all kinds of things, but because he had a nice little stapler for me to put this together, I just went ahead and took advantage of that. So I just put those little like 1-inch blocks inside of there to help give extra support, and so it wouldn't bow and, you know, wiggle around in there. And then I just tacked it all in, and I went ahead and used caulk to fill in the staple holes and all of the edges, and just let that dry while I was doing some other things, and went over it with the primer as well. And you're gonna see again with this primer how good it covers. Like, this little piece in the middle of all of this white really shows it, how quickly it covers. And luan is very porous, so a lot of times you have to prime it almost twice for it to be covered well, and I didn't have to do that at all with this primer. So shout out to Valspar for coming up with an amazing primer. So to keep this budget friendly, but to give it a little facelift, we have these 2 bar stool chairs that were with this house whenever my parents moved into it. And so my mom made the suggestion if we were to paint them black and just kind of bring more of the modern farmhouse kind of feel to this kitchen. So I went ahead and just took a trash bag to cover the seats, because we thought we'd just leave the seats the way that they are. And then I took some painter's tape and ripped a lot of little pieces to line up around the bottom of the spindles. And then I took this satin spray paint. This is a primer and paint in one. And I went over the chairs. Now, one thing I did do, again, is I allowed time to dry. I did thinner coats so that there wouldn't be runs, because if you put spray paint on too quickly and too thick, you're going to end up with things running down the legs and all of that. So I just kind of would take breaks and go back outside and put another thin coat on, and you are going to love the finished product whenever it comes to these chairs. So here you're seeing me do the caulk around that top part of the little vent hood area, and I can't believe how elevated this makes this whole entire area of the kitchen look. It just looked very dated with that little shelf thing they tried to create in there, and it's just amazing how different it made the whole kitchen feel just covering that up. Once the paint had completely dried, and I actually let them dry overnight in the shed here, I just felt like it would be good to do that, just because spray paint really can have a strong smell, and so just letting them kind of air out once they were done really helped them not make my mom's house smell badly. If you've ever spray painted a piece of furniture, then you know that sometimes those fumes can really hang around for a while. So letting them sit outside somewhere is very helpful to let them aerate and all of that. So once the cabinets were completely painted, and I did paint the walls the same color, I did want to mention that, I went ahead and put on all of this hardware from Amazon. I will leave them linked below, and anything else that I can from this video. I have these in my kitchen and love them. Okay friends, so we have made it a long way into this project. I'm so happy with where things are at, and now we get to the fun part where we get to kind of decorate and pull bits and pieces together. So my mom and I actually went shopping, and we went to Hobby Lobby and found this perfect piece to go into this funny little inset area here. But I know that a lot of us struggle with using command strips, which is how we're gonna hang this piece. And this piece in particular is a little on the bigger side, so being able to keep it on the wall and keep it from falling off is obviously really important. So one thing I've discovered, when things fall off the wall with command strips, a lot of times they fall off the wall not because the command strip isn't sticking to the wall, but because the command strip isn't sticking to your photo frame, your piece of art, and whatnot. Whether it's a wooden frame, whether it has a brown sort of backing on it like this one does. So a little trick that I have figured out is I take, if you don't know what command strips are or how they work, essentially they're two pieces. They are Velcroed together. One piece will stick to the wall, the other is supposed to stick to your frame, and then they're supposed to come together and hold everything on the wall. Well, because the frame often falls off and this isn't sticky enough, what I've learned to do is take the one that is supposed to go on the frame and I put super glue on it, and I super glue this strip to the back of the frame. So you're not putting any super glue on the wall. Don't worry, you're not damaging your wall, because that's the whole point of using these. And you're still able to make these come apart whenever you are lifting the picture frame off the wall. Then you're left with this, and then you can just do that classic pull down and it just releases from the wall. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do, is actually super glue this side to the back of this frame, so we know it's not going to fall off the wall, it's not going anywhere, and it won't fall and break. This trick with the super glue is something that I wish I would have discovered a long time ago. I've had many things fall off the wall, and it's generally, like I said, due to whatever it's stuck to, and this worked out perfectly for this piece of art, and we were so thrilled when we found this piece of art. I just think it fits the whole kitchen so well. We weren't sure what to do with this odd little nook, and I would love to hear in the comments if you had any ideas of what you would have done with this funny little kind of desk area. My mom does cook a lot. If you've been around for a while, you know that we've done some videos together even on my main channel, and so it doesn't really make sense for her to have a desk in the middle of her kitchen. Whenever you cook a lot, you want all the space, all the counter space, every area kind of freed up. You don't want to be stumbling over a chair, which is really what would happen if a chair was put up to this and used as a desk. So it just worked out great to kind of make this a little coffee nook. And I added in this gorgeous pothos my mom has. It is so long and just so drapey and pretty. This is like pothos goals. Like, this is the way I want mine in my sunroom at home to grow. It's just so beautiful. I'm sure it loves all of that Florida sun for sure, and has grown so well. And then I popped in a little bit of terracotta up here and some lighter woven basket box type things. My mom definitely wants to continue to incorporate terracotta. It goes so well with the tile that's along the backsplash of this kitchen, and the area that they live in is very kind of southern but almost has a southwest feel, because there is a lot of cattle ranches and things like that close to where they live, and so kind of giving a little hint of that here in her kitchen fits her home so well. And then I put this cart underneath of here just because it's a great place to store all of her odds and ends when it comes to coffee making. She has certain ways she likes to make her coffee, and if you've been around a long time, you know I've inherited that very well. And also she loves to host, so this gives her such a great place to make people hot drinks when they're over, and or have them make their own. So she has these little tin boxes. These are from IKEA. I think they're so cute, and I've eyed them up myself different times, but they work great to store her loose leaf tea and her little tea bags, so she can pull them out whenever she wants to make tea or make tea for someone else. And there was this little drawer area that she liked to keep her coffee filters in, so I went ahead and put them back in there, and a few to-go cups. These chairs just work perfectly with the black accents that we've pulled into this room. My mom still wants to play around with some of the decor, but we've given it a fresh new start. This little coffee nook area that we've created over here is just perfect. This little cart she did already have. She's going to keep an eye out maybe at some antique stores, thrift stores, secondhand shops, or possibly just search on Amazon for a while to find something that she would prefer in this little space right here. But this is what she had on hand, and in the time frame that I'm here and working with everything, we just decided to go ahead and use what she had, and she can find something that is possibly more down the line of this dish color or these baskets, a little bit of a lighter wood color. We will see what we can find, and possibly maybe when I come again, we can even build shelves down there. So we'll see how that goes, but we just brought some green plants into this space, and her vining plant that is just gorgeous up there on top of the cabinets pulls in such a fun, fresh pop of color. She also wants to pull in a bit more of the terracotta look. So as she finds pieces to put in here, I know she's going to enjoy that as well. It works great with that countertop and backsplash. And it's just amazing to me what you can accomplish with such a small budget. Really, in reality, we used about $30 worth of pre-mixed white paint from Lowe's, and then of course the primer as well, and then the spray paint for the chairs and the new hardware. All in, we are definitely under $100 for this makeover, which is just wild with the fact that the change is so completely drastic. I love that primer. It is amazing. This was my first time using it. I've used other bonding primers before. Cannot recommend it enough if you are doing cabinets without sanding, for sure. Finding this piece over here above the coffee nook at Hobby Lobby, we were able to get it, I think it was 40% off. So we paid a fraction of the regular price for that as well. And of course, that is a major focal piece of the kitchen here and just brings about the style that my mom was looking for, adding in some black accents and just kind of modernizing this kitchen just a bit. On this side of the kitchen, we have this doorway that leads to the laundry room. That's going to be another project that I will do possibly on my next trip down here. But this side just is her sink area, and it all ties together so nicely. We took the blind down that was in this window. We really contemplated putting some like tea towel curtains up or something like that. But there's actually a pretty large tree that covers this window on the outside, and she feels like it's private enough right where the house is situated to just simply leave everything off of that window, and it brings in some fresh light into the kitchen. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you are new. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this before and after. This was such a fun, budget-friendly little facelift or big facelift really to this kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all in the next one.